Hey, what's up, guys? Joker here, coming at you with a massive boo-boo on my thumb. That's right, I just cut the tip off my finger like 5 minutes ago, cutting up collard greens for my bearded dragon, and I really hope he's enjoying them right now, because it hurts a lot. So, it's going to be tough to text the next couple days. Besides the point, today we're covering news. Tech news, that's right, tech news, a little bit of gaming news sprinkled in there, just a dash, just a little emerald bam, one of those things right at the end. So, let's get fired into it. First, we'll be talking about AMD, who is talking about the Intel tax, throwing some serious shade their way. Also, NVIDIA RTX cards are seeing a price cut already. That's right. And we've got two brand new game reveal trailers, one for Borderlands 3 and one for F1 2019, which most of you probably aren't that excited for, but I am. I'll explain why soon. Today's video is brought to you by LevelGo.com, where you could pick up all of your favorite games coming out in the year 2019, as well as software like Windows 10 Pro for just $16, Microsoft Office 2016 for under $40, and Office 2019 Professional Plus for just $80. And if you head over there with the links down in the description below, you can get 12% off of Windows 10 with the code JKL12 at checkout, or 10% off the entire website with the code JKL10. Just hit up the links down in the description below for more info, and be sure to use those coupon codes. So first up, let's talk about this Intel tax, which AMD has published a white paper over on their website. As you can see right here, if any of you can actually just download this, you have to give them your name, email address, and the company you work for, and it immediately gives it to you. It doesn't do any sort of like background checks. You instantly can download this and go ahead and read it. Now, this whole thing is all about the server side of things with EPYC processors and how it would be better to use EPYC CPUs or SoCs for your servers versus Intel. And AMD basically explains why that is. So Intel's strategy, as they explain in here, is usually with their SKUs, they will have them segmented with these designed in performance bottlenecks. Basically, they design bottlenecks into the CPUs themselves so that they can upsell you on buying more expensive, higher core count processors, which AMD claims that they don't, well, because they don't. So with an Intel processor, you might, if you want to have more memory, let's say you might buy a lower end Xeon SKU, you may have to, might be limited on how much memory you can actually fit, I should say not fit, utilize with that processor. Also, memory performance like speeds, the core counts would also be limited as well, and I/O connectivity. So those are just a few of the ways that Intel will try to upsell you on some of their high-end Xeon processors, which they use the example of when you buy a car, which is absolutely true. We just bought a new SUV last year, and like when you're there, we're like, okay, we want a sunroof. Like it was important to us to have a sunroof. But if we wanted to get a sunroof, we had to get this $6,000 package, which included leather seats, TVs built into the back of the seats, all this other stuff, which we had no desire for whatsoever. We just wanted a sunroof. And it would have cost us several $1,000s, probably another $100 a month in a car payment just to get the sunroof that we wanted. So that's kind of what Intel is doing here, basically saying, hey, if you want to be able to use 512 gigabytes of memory, just throwing that out there is completely random, then you need to spend an extra $3,000 on a processor because our lower SKU ones don't. While EPYC processors, they're not really doing this. You could buy, their top-end SKU, you could buy their middle-of-the-road SKU, and they'll all support the same amount of memory, same speeds, and everything like that, and it's not really limiting it in any way. And we see this at the desktop too. We definitely see that at the desktop with Intel, how they limit things like PCI Express lanes, the amount of memory you can use, and speeds and things. While AMD with Ryzen, we don't really see that too much. You could buy a quad core with no hyper-threading, or you could buy an 8-core with hyper-threading for $400 versus $100, and it doesn't matter which one you get. You can overclock all of them. You can use any amount of memory you want and all of that, and they're not limiting it in the same ways that Intel does. So that is kind of a good thing here that we are seeing this, and we'll see if it helps AMD in the future in the server space if more companies are looking for that type of flexibility with the processors that they are picking up. Next up, we have to talk about NVIDIA, who is actually seeing their first price cut on RTX graphics cards. Now, as of right now, this is only being limited to a retailer in the UK. However, it could very likely become more widespread throughout the UK and even possibly here in the United States. And they've seen price cuts on pretty much every RTX graphics cards. If you look over on WCCF Tech, they have a list here. Some of them are just, like 30, 50 pounds here or there. The RTX 2060 Phoenix from Asus got dropped down to 300 pounds where it was 330 before. And this is all including VAT. But then you have other cards like the RTX 2080 Ti, where they saw massive price cuts on something like the Asus RTX 2080 Ti ROG Strix OC Edition, which is now selling for 1,250 quid, whereas before it was selling for 1,500 pounds. That's right, a 250 quid price cut. That is nothing to sneeze at. If I just bought an Asus 2080 Ti for 1,500 pounds a month ago, and now it's selling for 1,250, I would be pretty darn pissed, and I would be looking to get in contact with that e-tailer and hopefully getting a refund for part of that price if it was within the last 30 days, which in the States here, you do have that right if it's within a certain period of time and it's not a sale and it's an actual price cut. So not really too familiar with the laws over in the UK, but hopefully if someone bought one of those cards very recently, they could get refunded the difference here. Now, obviously, this is just one e-tailer over in the UK, but as I said, this could start to spread to the States soon, and you have to wonder why we are seeing these price cuts, because these cards have only been out for at most like 8 months, like going back to like August. Yeah, it's been like almost six to 8 months since then. And 2060s came out later and stuff like that, so it's been less months even for those cards. And they're already seeing price drops, not even a year after release, and they're seeing official price cuts on RTX cards. So it has me wondering, is it because they're struggling to move them, or were they charging so much more to begin with to kind of, test the market and see what people would pay for, and now they're lowering the prices down accordingly because sales are not as good as NVIDIA would like to see? So yeah, all good questions. We don't have any official answers yet, but let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on why you think we are already seeing RTX price cuts across the board at this one e-tailer over in the UK. And last but certainly not least, we've got 2 game reveal trailers. The first is Borderlands 3, so bringing back a really good looter shooter. We know that there's not enough of those these days. I mean, we see looter shooters coming out all the time. It's a pretty saturated market at this point, but Borderlands was kind of one of the OGs, and they've traditionally done it right. Even though I kind of have a mixed feelings when it comes to Gearbox. They've done some really shit games and done some really bad things like Aliens versus Predators. Stuff like that comes to mind. Randy Pitchford is not my favorite individual, but Gearbox also puts out the Borderlands games, which have been exceptional. I've enjoyed both the first 2 games. I played and owned all the expansions, and I will definitely be picking up Borderlands 3 when it comes out, and it does seem like they are kind of hitting on all cylinders like we saw in previous games. Still using that same cel-shaded design, and hopefully there are tons and tons and tons of guns. And, it's been quite a few years since Borderlands 2 came out, and since that time, there's definitely been a shift, and microtransactions have become much more prominent now than they were back then. I mean, we had them when Borderlands 2 came out, but it wasn't anywhere near as bad as it is now, so we'll have to wait and see once this does come out, if they stick to that and they keep this game, free of microtransactions and don't charge people to get special weapons and things like that in the game, because that's been one of the selling points of Borderlands, is that there's just so many guns and varieties and combinations of weapons that mix different abilities and perks and things that keep the game feeling unique. So, I mean, you can have one friend get a gun that another player will never see in their entire time playing the game, because there's so many different unique weapons in the Borderlands games, especially in Borderlands 2. They had tons of guns in that game, so I do hope that this comes out good. We don't have an official release date on it yet, but they are going to be giving more information on April 3rd, so hopefully we'll find out some more there, and then probably at E3. Don't know if this is going to be coming out this year. It might not come out until next year. I haven't seen anything yet on an official release date or a window. And the next one is F1 2019, also got a teaser trailer. It's going to be coming out on June 28th, and this is something that excites me, not because I want to play it, but because the F1 2018 game had an exceptional benchmark. It really canes the GPU as well as the CPU, and really good benchmarking tools built into it as well. So it's a good tool, even though people aren't really asking like, oh, can my card play F1 2019? There's not a ton of people out there really asking those questions, but it's really good for just GPU comparisons. Just because the engine is really, really good. Kind of like Sniper Elite 4 in that way. The engines are just really good and well optimized. So it's a good way of comparing one GPU to another. So that's kind of why I'm looking forward to this. Hopefully the benchmark tools are just as robust in this game as they were in F1 2018. But I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did or learned something new, show your support by leaving a thumbs up on it down below. Not this thumb, this thumb. This one hurts. I can't use this one. So yeah, do all that. Subscribe if you're not already. Ring the bell. And I'll see you tomorrow for another video. Maybe a live stream. Sure.